What's going on, everybody? Thank you for listening to USB, Unaffiliated Sports Broadcast, your home for Tooele County High School sports, for the most part at least. We try to cover the 4 primary high schools here in the Tooele County area, which is a pretty unique thing. Each one of these schools is pretty much a stone's throw away from each other. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but they're all pretty close, relatively close, and it creates quite a pretty cool environment. And I don't know, a lot of good stuff comes out of it. So we're here to cover, obviously we're past week 1 of football. It already started here. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap on that because there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. But the truth is, I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do this. And so I'm definitely behind schedule right now. But we're going to do the best we can. All right. I had a couple people reach out to me asking me about it. I had people talk to me in person about it. So I feel like it's something I should keep doing, and I'm going to do the best that I can, all right? But just please bear with me. I do have a really busy schedule right now. So with that all being said, let's get into it. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of a week 1 recap, and then we're going to get into the matchups because this is the Game Day podcast. What do we do here that's different than other these sports programs that you see on Instagram, stuff like that? Well, really not a whole lot outside of the fact that we only focus on the Tooele County side of it. Okay, now obviously when they have other matchups and things like that, obviously we cover some of that stuff, right? But we focus specifically on the Tooele County side of it, all right? Because it's my belief that there's a ton of athletic, talented kids out in this area that I didn't feel was getting enough recognition, and there was nothing around at the time that I felt was really highlighting that, and so I wanted to try to be the change in the world that you want to see, right? So I don't know how successful that's been, but it's been fun nonetheless, and I get to see a lot of cool games, man. And you get invested in these kids that you have nothing to do with, absolutely nothing to do with, right? I have no reason to know hardly any of these kids, and then you go watch them play, man, and they do stuff that's really just inspiring. And you look at it and you're like, man, this kid's got it. They got a ton of talent, and you become invested in it, man. And it's really cool. It's fun. So it is what it is. Missed some stuff. I'm sorry about that. Can't make up for the past and just keep moving forward, right? So that's what we're going to do. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of a week 1 recap, and then we're going to get into the game day matchups that we've got going on this evening. So hopefully you guys are ready to get out there and watch some football, go support these youth in our community, and help them feel inspired to achieve their goals and their dreams. That's what it's all about. So let's get into it a little bit, shall we? So let's get into the week 1 recap. Let me go ahead and kill this music here. Sorry about that. Let's get into the week 1 recap. All right. So the first game we're going to talk about is actually the game that I watched this game opening night. It was on a Thursday. It was super rain delayed. So they were really behind schedule. But it was a good second half. That's what I'm going to say about it. But there was a lot of things going against an opening game, right? A lot of things to still kind of fine tune. They had weather delay. I don't think they even start. I don't think I ended up going to bed till like almost midnight after watching this game. It was crazy. So I'm sure there was a lot of probably chaos involved with that for the players themselves, the coaching staff, whatever, right? So first half was not very hot, but Stansbury was on the road last week against Skyline. They ended up winning that one 14-10. Again, first half, nothing to be really too excited about unless you like defense. That defense, listen, I shouted them out and I'm going to continue to shout them out. The way that defense performed in that game, they gave their team opportunities time and time again, and allowed them to stay in that game. So enough cannot be said about them. I could be wrong about this, but as far as I know, they didn't have any points against them from red zone plays. If I recall correctly, all their points came from outside of the red zone for Skyline. You can't ask for more from your defense. I think they did a phenomenal job. So first half, like I said, offensively, it was a little rough. The Stallions struggled a little bit. There were some overthrows that were kind of uncharacteristic, a little bit of timing issues, maybe some they thought they were going to zig when they zag type things, right? It's a little bit rough, but coming into the second half, I think they did a great job, kind of making it easier for them to get themselves in a rhythm, and they started getting momentum. All right, so in the passing game, they ended up with 113 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They carried the ball 20 times for 90 yards and 0 touchdowns on that, but still a good, effective running game. Defensively, they had a total of 51 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 4 defensive sacks, according to Max Preps. Okay, there was nothing for Skyline, so I can't really tell you what they really did. But they didn't do much in the second half. I'll tell you that much. They probably thought they were going to run away with it in the first half, but no, Stansbury really came out of the second half and really changed the tone of that game. So again, huge shout out on that one to the defense. In particular, Lincoln Wrightsville, I think he had both those interceptions, if I recall correctly. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, he had both the interceptions for him, and one of them was a game-sealing interception to ice it and seal it for him. So congratulations to them on the big opening week win. Um, it sucks that they didn't. I don't even know what time they got home. It's probably like 1:30 in the morning, I'd bet. Something close to that. No, maybe not 1:30. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration too. All I know is it was late, and they were probably tired. But congratulations to them on a good, strong opening week one, and we'll get into what they got coming up tonight. But again, just shout out to them. Congratulations. All right, next game we're going to talk about Tooele versus Union. Now, I was actually at this game. Tooele ends up winning this one 14-10. Tooele had an early lead that they held for pretty much most of the game. But then Union started to come back, and they put the Buffaloes in a really tough spot. The last, I think it was about 2 minutes and 40 seconds roughly, that drive that the Buffaloes put on, it was fantastic. They did a good job executing efficiently. They got some help from some self-induced penalties from Union. I think one of them was a pass interference call or a roughing the passer one. I can't remember. But they did get some help from that. But that was Union's fault, right? Self-induced penalty on their behalf because they had the lead going into this. They get it down to the goal line, and you get a good, strong run from Kami Vaianuku, and he scores. So I hope I said that correctly, sir. But yeah, it was really good to see, right? Because this is a team that was rebuilding in a lot of ways last year. Kind of had some up and down stuff, kind of highs and lows type thing, right? So come out and start the season off with a win, I think is huge for them. Offensively, I thought they played pretty well. 8 of 15 for 130 yards, 0 touchdowns, 31 carries, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, which, we'll get into that when we talk about the matchup. But, the tackles for loss, they had 12 of those, 73 total tackles. Excuse me. Two interceptions for them as well, and 2 sacks. So I think that they played really well. Clearly there's still some things that they want to clean up a little bit. I know it didn't look like from the special teams perspective that they were doing so hot. I think Union blocked a couple things there. So I'm sure they want to tighten that up a little bit. Some small execution style things, right, that they probably want to clean up, but I think they played pretty well, and it was a home game for them, so they were able to win that one in front of their fans. I think it was a good game, and hopefully they can build off that momentum. Now, as for Union, they didn't do too bad on the ground. They had 35 carries for 128 yards. The 2 for 5 on passing for only 13 yards and a touchdown. Maybe I typoed that, but whatever. Defensively, 61 total tackles for Union. So they had their work cut out for them, trying to bring down those running backs for Tooele. 2 tackles for loss, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions. Which I think that's the biggest thing right there. I think that stands out the most for this team. The passing game for Tooele has kind of been hit or miss, right? And so to start the game out, you go 8 of 15, 130 yards, no interceptions. Your quarterback doesn't get sacked. I think that's a huge plus for them. So congratulations on them for their opening week win, and hopefully they can keep that momentum going. And we'll talk more about them when we get into the matchups. All right, but congratulations to the Tooele Buffaloes for winning their opening week game. All right, the Grantsville Cowboys. Now they were at a neutral site, playing against San Juan. I believe it was at Snow College, if I'm correct on that. But they were technically the home team, but it was a neutral site. All right. I was trying to watch it in between plays at the Tooele game. So I obviously missed quite a bit. Um, but here's what I did notice. Here's the key takeaway that I did notice. Uh, Notably, they have a new quarterback in their system, and he's a sophomore. Crew all red, number 9 crew already, sophomore form, and I've seen this kid play some other sports. He's extremely athletic. Definitely don't have any issue there. I don't have any issue, period. But nonetheless, like there's no issue there. He's athletic. He's definitely talented. I think the question was how was he going to interact as the starter, right? And I think he did pretty good. I think he did pretty good. He went 15 to 31 for 191 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Now, San Juan controlled this game early on, but the last 3 quarters was all Grantsville, and in large in part, I would say probably due to their defense, because they ended up with 62 total tackles, 4 defensive interceptions. But it was the rushing attack for sure. I mean, they had 68 carries for 392 yards and 2 touchdowns, and we'll talk a little bit more about what the individual players did when we talk about the matchup coming up this week. But nonetheless, huge effort on the ground there. Defense came in clutch, really helped turn that around. So, the 2 interceptions. Listen, that's going to happen. I think anytime you got a new quarterback in a system, like I know he was there last year, but he's starting this year. He's the guy this year, right? I think you're going to have some of that. So I'm not too concerned about that for him at all. If anything, I'm more concerned for San Juan because they had 389 passing yards. They went 23 of 38. They had 2 touchdowns, but they had 4 interceptions, right? I mean, you look at that and you would think that they would have had at least 3 passing touchdowns and probably some rushing touchdowns. Well, they did have 1 rushing touchdown, excuse me, but 28 carries for 133 yards, right? So, like, if you look at their stat line, 94 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. The only thing they didn't appear to have is a defensive sack, right? So if you look at those stat lines, like they should have been dominating this game, and again, early on they were, but then their back was against the wall once Grantsville took off. So, congratulations to the Grantsville Cowboys for being able to hold on to what they came there to do, making the adjustments and going out there and executing. And again, shout out to that defense. 4 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's no small feat. So congratulations to them. We'll talk more about them obviously when we get into the matchup for tonight. But again, congratulations on your week 1 win in your home road game, as I like to call it. All right, and last but not least, we have the Deseret Peak Golden Eagles who went over to Box Elder. Don't mind the graphic. It's the easiest way to do it. All right, cut me some slack. But they went over to Box Elder. They would end up losing this one 49-0. So a tough way to start your opening season. Not a lot to be, I don't want to say excited for, but stat wise, it doesn't look too great. Now, rushing the ball, they didn't do too bad. They had 24 carries for 88 yards, but they got no touchdowns out of it, right? And that obviously hurts. But the passing game, they do have a new quarterback in there. Last year, I believe it was Carter Stroyak. This year, it's Andrew Harris. So he's learning things, right? I don't know how much quarterback play he's really done. So this may be entirely new to him. So that's a little bit of a rough start. But 4 of 17 for 17 yards. No interceptions though, at least none that were listed, and that's a positive, I think. If I'm looking at this, yeah, obviously the passing game wasn't there, but 0 interceptions. If that's accurate, I think that's a really big positive. Defensively, they had 31 total tackles, and nothing was listed for anything else. No tackles for loss or sacks or anything like that. Box Elder, they put up 228 yards on the ground off 26 carries, and ended up with 3 touchdowns. But it was their passing attack that really did the damage with 9 of 12, 149 yards for 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So looks like they got 1 tackle for loss, and it was ended up being their sack. So the Golden Eagles were up against it, right? I mean, so there's a lot of factors that go into that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the matchup this week. But as for week 1, that's your score, that's your stat line for at least what was posted. So if any of this is inaccurate, I get all the stats from Max Preps. So just letting everybody know. So we're going to go ahead and transition now into our game day for today. All right, bear with me. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm kind of getting myself back into a rhythm, making sure I don't mess it all up. All right. and hopefully I'm doing okay. Hopefully I'm doing okay. So our week one recap is complete. Let's get into what we have going on tonight. Now tonight we've got the Stansbury Stallions versus the Harriman Mustangs. Both these teams are 1-0. That game will be tonight at 7 p.m. over in Stansbury. I think this is going to be I think this is going to be a good game. I really do. Like we talked about in the recap, the Stallions kind of started off slow, but they definitely got it together. They definitely got it figured out, and they did a really good job controlling things from there. So as long as they're able to build off that, I think this is going to be a really good game. I don't think that they can start out slow like they did last time, but assuming that they've got that corrected, I think this is going to be a really good game. I think if you're at this game, you're going to see some good football. I think, and I, if I didn't have obligations, I'm sorry, but hopefully I can make it to something. Um, we'll see. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be a really good game. I'm excited to watch it and see what these young men do and the coaching staff and everything like that. Because I think they're really going to have a good run of things. So just to kind of go over a little bit. So here's your stat comparison. Now the Harriman Mustangs, points for them. They've scored 25. They won last week 25-14, okay? They were 9 of 20 for 81 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, but it was their rushing attack that really did the damage in their game last week. They had 41 carries for 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that Stansbury defensive front is going to have their work cut out for them because clearly they're efficient and like to run the ball. So yeah, definitely gonna be watching that one. But if there's a team that I think has the tenacity to be able to deal with that, I think it's Stansbury. That defensive unit for Stansbury is really good. So this is going to be, I think, an uphill challenge for Harriman as well, as much as it's a challenge for the Stansbury defense, right? So definitely interested to see how that goes. In terms of passing for Harriman, their quarterback is number 1, Bryson Sweeney. He's a senior. He went 9 of 20 for 81 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, like we already talked about. The leading rusher for Harriman was number 8, Felice Felipe, a senior. He had 27 carries for 276 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get a majority of their handoffs. Now, in the receiving category, their leading receiver was number 19, Hayes Priest, also a senior. He had 4 receptions for 31 yards. Kemper Castro, a senior, number 4. He was the one who had their receiving touchdown. Now, defensively, the Mustangs, I couldn't get how many yards they let up or passing or rushing, but they ended up with 63 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss. So that defense is getting in the backfield. They had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. So protecting, Stansbury protecting quarterback Reitzel there. It's going to definitely be important because this team can clearly get into the backfield. Defensive leaders for them was number 4, Kemper Castro, a senior. Number 9, Logan Gregory, a senior. Number 26, Gavin Fox, a senior. And number 7, Ashton Herbert, a senior as well. All those gentlemen tied with 7 total tackles apiece. The tackle for loss leader with 3.5 tackles for loss was the same number 4, Kemper Castro. He also led the team in sacks with 3.5. And interceptions, they had 2 players each get 1. Number 9, Logan Gregory, a senior. Number 22, Sebastian Alfonso, also a senior. Both had 1 interception. Now, as for Stansbury, last week, the stat that they put up, quarterback number 3, Brighton Reitzel, is senior. He was 12 of 28, 113 yards for 2 touchdowns. So not a bad game from him. Number 4, Petty Vaca, a sophomore. And listen, if you watch this kid, I'm telling you, that kid runs with some energy, man. I don't want to call it anger because I don't know him, but it looks like he's running with anger, right? And I mean, he fights for his yards. And as a sophomore, I think that's something that coaching staff loves to see. I think you're going to see a lot of good things out of this young man in the coming years. He had 14 carries for 70 yards. The second leading rusher for Stansbury was the quarterback, number 3, Brighton Reitzel, with 5 carries and 15 yards. So I'm telling you, though, keep an eye on number 4, Vaca. I'm telling you, that kid he runs like he's still upset his parents wouldn't take him to McDonald's when he was 7. I'm telling you, he's gonna do a lot of good stuff. The leading receiver for the Stallions was number 2, Boston Riley. In terms of overall yardage, he had 3 receptions for 37 yards. Then number 10, Junior Halu, a junior. He had 4 receptions for 30 yards. And then number 5, Lincoln Reitzel, a senior, 3 receptions, 27 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So defensively, again, this was a unit that we talked about, right? Defensive pressure that they had, given their offense opportunities to figure their stuff out and get into a rhythm, right? Yeah, number 9, Bronx Baker, a senior with 12 total tackles, and then number 5, Lincoln Reitzel, the senior, with 9 total tackles. Your tackle for loss leader was number 52, Amari Warren. I hope I said that right, young man. He's a junior, 2 tackles for loss, and also he led the team in sacks, 2 sacks there. Now, interceptions, this is where it's big. Number 5, Lincoln Reitzel. On top of having the 2 touchdowns for his offense, he ended up getting 2 interceptions for his defense, one of them icing that game. So a lot of good stuff from both these teams coming into this game. I think this is going to be a really good game, but I don't think anybody can start out slow. So I don't think Stansbury can have the same issues that they had in the first half last week. I don't think that can carry over this week if they want to be successful. They're playing a good team, comes in with a lot of good stuff, and they're a good team going in with a lot of good stuff. So super excited to see what that is. If you look here, here's all those stats that I just read off. You can see your team leaders. I had a whole plan where I was going to do that in rhythm, and I totally jacked that up. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. If you're just listening on Spotify, that's why I say everything, obviously, right? But nonetheless, I took the time to make these cool graphics. I like them. I don't know how many other people do, but I think it's pretty cool. And I meant to have this talk about each one of them as we came to it, but totally spaced that. All right. Like I said, I'm getting into a rhythm just as much as everybody else. All right. So bear with me here. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, super excited for this game. So again, that game will be tonight at Stansbury at 7 p.m. So definitely get out there, check that out, go support those guys. Really good teams. I think you're going to see a heck of a football game there. So good luck to Stansbury tonight. Go out there, kick some butt, and go 2-0, man. Go 2-0. So now the game that I probably will be at, because I live out here for one, and for two, my daughter wants to go hang out with her friends. So I'm gonna go probably watch this game after traveling for basketball. So we're gonna jet back out here, and we're gonna try to be at this game. Grantsville will be at home tonight for their season home opener, I guess you could say it, even though they technically had a home game. This is the first one that they'll be playing here in Grantsville. And they'll be taking on the Richfield Wildcats, a team that they have a history with, particularly in the postseason, that I don't think that they're super happy about. All right. So I think they definitely want to win against this team. They definitely have energy and momentum on their side because, like we talked about last week, they started out a little slow in that first quarter, but then they really got it together over the course of the next 3. They outscored San Juan 30-8, if I remember correctly from my notes, in the last 3 quarters. So San Juan didn't really do much. Grantsville definitely got it together in those last 3 quarters, and hopefully that's going to transition over because I think they're going to need it. So when we look at the offensive comparison, I'll try to get this right now that I'm on the same page as myself, right? You got some stats here. I mean, it's a pretty good matchup on paper, I think. Now, in terms of the Wildcats in general, they won their game last week 62-20. All right, they put an absolute whooping on the team that they played. I can't remember who it is. I should have wrote it down. I didn't. I'm sorry. But yeah, they put a whooping on them, 62-20. They went 6-9, 117 yards for 2 touchdowns. This is the Richfield Wildcats, by the way. They had 27 carries for an impressive 359 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. So that Grantsville defense is, I hope they're ready to tackle because these guys are going to run the ball 100%. But they're also efficient passing the ball. 6 of 9, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty dang good stat line, right? Excuse me. Now, for Richfield, as you can see there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If not, go ahead and listen in. All right, you've got number 4, Cord White, a senior. He went 6 of 8, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns like we already talked about. No interceptions that were listed. So definitely a threat there in the passing game, even though they had 359 yards rushing the ball. Your rushing leaders is number 8, Colton White, a junior. He had 5 carries, 113 yards for 1 touchdown. He was followed by number 2, I think. I'm not even going to try to say this name. I'm just going to butcher it. But he had 4 carries for 75 yards and 1 touchdown. And then number 14, Tuafu. Tuafatuofo. Ah, man, yeah, number 14. Junior, he had 5 carries for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a lot of rushing yards by those young men. And I do apologize for butchering your names. I do want to give people a shout out to do great things. And yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at at those names. I'm sorry. Uh, I'll work on it. One thing at a time. Now, receiving, it was number 5, Shane Pearson for the Wildcats. He had 4 receptions for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. So pretty much all the passes went to him, is what it looks like. Yeah, obviously they had 2, but they didn't go very far clearly because he had 115 yards. So definitely gonna have to keep an eye on him. Now, passing yards allowed, the Wildcats allowed 159 yards and 2 touchdowns in their matchup last week, but they only allowed 94 rushing yards and a touchdown. So for Grantsville, who we already talked about, had a big running attack last game. That's kind of an area that I think they're going to want to make sure that they succeed in, right? And it looks like Richfield does a pretty good job of not letting teams rush the ball, keeping the team to under 100 yards, right? So total tackles, Richfield had 54. And I gotta get this right, right? I gotta get this right. Here we go. Okay. Defensively, they had 54 total tackles, 2 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 1 interceptions. They were led in tackles by number 4, Cord White, the senior, with 7 total tackles. Number 84, Nash Spelly Jr., he had 3 tackles for loss and also led the team, or tied the team, excuse me, sack total with 1 sack, along with number 59, Bridger Goodwin, who is also a senior, and number 3, Trey Yardley, a senior. He had 1 interception for his defense. Now, as for Grantsville, we're going to go back to the offensive comparison, which I should have talked about originally while I was already up, but I'm going to get that slide back up. All right, so like we already kind of talked about, new quarterback for Grantsville this year. Last game's stats, they points for 30, points against 20. So Crew Allred, the sophomore, number 9, he was 14 of 30, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. But the rushing attack from number 4, Carter Bell, a senior, 22 carries, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns was huge for those guys. Number 9, Crew Allred, the quarterback, he also had 16 carries for 74 yards. So definitely a dual threat type situation there in the Grantsville backfield. Number 45, Colt Thomas, a senior, he had 1 carry for 15 yards. And number 0, Beck Mondragon, a junior, had 4 carries for 14 yards and 1 touchdown as well. So congratulations to those young men. In the receiving category, number 3, Ty Home, a senior, a young man that we're definitely excited to see grow and thrive in this receiver position. He had a big night with 6 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He led the team there. Number 22, Dawson Dunleavy, a senior, he had 3 receptions for 57 yards. And then it was number 17, Grayson Warren, a junior, with 1 reception for 15 yards. So good job there on the offensive side. Like I said, they really figured it out and got things going in the last 3 quarters of that game. And hopefully they're able to keep that momentum going. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the Cowboys let up 389 yards in the air and 2 touchdowns, so definitely something they're going to want to tighten up. Even though they had really good success in the interception category, they let up a lot of yards passing, right? And that's something that they're definitely going to want to probably bring down a notch. And they're playing a team this week that's efficient in passing and running the ball. So on the ground, the Cowboys defense allowed 133 yards and a touchdown, so not too bad there. I think that they held them pretty well there. Total tackles, the Cowboys had 62 total tackles on the evening. Nothing was listed for sacks or tackles for loss, and they ended up with 4 interceptions. So it's crazy. As many yards as were let up against them, they still picked the ball off 4 times. Really good effort by that defense and giving their offense opportunities there. I mean, you can't ask for more than that, right? So your total tackles leaders, it was a tie at 12 apiece between number 0, Beck Mondragon, and the junior, and number 17, Grayson Warren, also a junior, both tied at 12 apiece to lead the team in total tackles. But it was number 17, Grayson Warren, who led with 2 interceptions on the night. So shout out to that young man. Congratulations. Way to make something happen for your team, man. Way to go. Way to dig deep. So congratulations to those guys. But again, this game, I think it's going to be a lot of energy. That's what I think. I think there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of fight, hopefully, right? Because I just get the feeling that these two teams don't really like each other. All right. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm hopeful that it's going to be a good game. I'm excited to see what that offense can do. They've got they've got a lot of new receivers this year in terms of starters, not new to the program, just in terms of starters, right? Their rushing attack seems to be really well rounded there. I mean, when you look at Crew Allred with 74 yards and Carter Bello had a monster night, 22 carries for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. Clearly, that's efficient. So hopefully they're able to keep that going against a team that allowed only 94 rushing yards last week. So definitely interested to see how that holds up. I think Crew Allred really settled in, and his passes were a lot better as the game went on. So I'm hoping he's able to carry that over because, again, this team the Wildcats only let up 159 yards in the air, but they did let up 2 touchdowns. So I think that there's an area there where they can exploit that a little bit, especially since the rushing attack might be hindered just a little bit in comparison to what they saw last week. So definitely excited for them. I think it's going to be a good game. So if you're in the area tonight at 7 p.m. at Grantsville High School, come check out the Grantsville Cowboys versus the Richfield Wildcats. Both teams are 1-0, but only one will leave 2-0. And it's a matter of who that's going to be. So good luck to them. Again, I will probably be at this game, so I'm excited to see what they do. And good luck. Good luck, everybody. Seriously. Now, the next game we're going to talk about is the Tooele Buffaloes. The Tooele Buffaloes, off their win last week, their home opener, they hit the road this week to go take on the Mountain View Bruins. Now, as for the Mountain View Bruins, they lost by a single point last week, 19-20 against the team that they played. Again, I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. It is what it is. Bear with me, all right? But nonetheless, 1 point, that's tough. That's tough. I think there's a lot of anger probably in that. They probably definitely feel like they had that. They should have won that one. 1 point is all it was. So I think that they're looking for some redemption right now. Last week they put up 132 yards in the air, 17 of 31. 132 yards, 1 touchdown. This is again Mountain View Bruins. This is their stats, their offensive stats from last week. And they had 34 carries for 196 yards and 1 touchdown. Now your offensive comparison. Again, bear with me, getting my own rhythm here. Your offensive comparison there. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I messed that up. Hold on 1 second. Bear with me. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we have the right slide up. I'm sorry about that. My bad. Okay. The offensive comparison for Tooele and Mountain View here. All right. Now, if you look there on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it all. If not, I'm about to fill you in. So for Mountain View, your quarterback comparison, you had number 8, Hiram Stafford, a senior. He went 8 of 17, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. And then there was also number 15, Marley Griffin, a junior. So I don't know if there was an injury, something happened. I don't know. He went 9 of 15 for 68 yards. Now, on the other side of that, you have Tooele. Jeez, man, I apologize. I'm going to get this right. Get my own rhythm. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tooele, number 8, Gus Pater, the senior. He went 8 of 15 for 130 yards. On the rushing attack for Mountain View last week, they had number 3, Carter Vance, a senior. He had 18 carries, 153 yards, and 1 touchdown. And the quarterback, number 8, Hiram Stafford, the senior, he had 8 carries for 63 yards. But again, if you look at the stat line, they had another quarterback come in. So I don't know if there was an injury or something. He may not be playing. I have no idea. But it does imply that there was a 2 quarterback set, whether that was intentional or from injury. I'm not sure. But they split the reps pretty evenly there for me to, not assume that there was an injury or something, because 63 yards from your quarterback, and he put up 132 yards and a touchdown. And they didn't win in a blowout, so it doesn't look like that was the case. They didn't win. They lost. So I don't think that they just put in the backup to, pull back the throttle a little bit. So, but if he is playing, he's a capable runner. So you had, again, Carter Vance, 153 yards, and then the quarterback, Hiram Stafford, with 63 yards. Now, for Tooele, it's kind of the same thing, right? You had Gus Bader leading the team with 14 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. So very capable, mobile quarterback there. You had big number 22, Kami Vianuka. I'm telling you, I would not want to be in front of this kid when he is running downhill. 6 carries, 52 yards, for a touchdown. And then number 23, Zidane Jensen. Hopefully I said that correctly, sir. He's a junior. He had 9 carries for 45 yards. So capable rushing attack for the Buffaloes as well. And again, kind of the same thing, efficient quarterback play for the most part in terms of passing, but both capable of being able to get outside and get some yardage. So very, very comparable in my opinion, at least according to stats, right? And that's all I can really go off because I haven't seen Mountain View play yet. So not really sure. Now in terms of receiving, your leader for receptions for the Bruins was number 7, Briggy Moses, a senior, 8 receptions for 77 yards. He was followed up by number 9, Koa Giles, a senior, 2 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. And number 11, Easton Pace, a junior, with 3 receptions for 53 yards. On the Tooele side of the ball, you had number 16, Bronson Borders, who had a huge night. Congratulations to that young man. He's a junior. He had 4 receptions for 101 yards. He was definitely a favorite target, from what I could tell at least. He had a big night. He had a big night. And the craziest thing is he's, in my opinion, he's pretty undersized. And he makes it happen. He made a great play coming back to a pass. It was, I don't know if it got tipped. Maybe it just came out, Pater's hands wrong. I don't really know, but it ended up being really short. He made a fantastic play, keeping his eye on it, coming back to it, and making something out of it. So keep an eye on that young man. He's got a ton of heart. Again, I feel like he's undersized, but he doesn't play like it, and that's what you want to look for, right? So congratulations to him. Seriously, he had a really big game. 4 receptions, 101 yards again for number 16, Bronson Borders, the junior. He was followed up by number 6, Caden Kroger, a junior, who had 2 receptions for 19 yards. So again, offensively, stats-wise, I think these two teams match up pretty well. I think it's going to be a matter of which defense lets up the most. And with that, let's talk about the defense. All right, these gentlemen are going to need to step up, I think, and really assert their dominance, right? But and I say that like they didn't play well last week. They played pretty well last week, all right? So the Buffaloes let up 13 passing yards, but a touchdown in their game last week, and 128 yards on the ground. And I'm trying to remember if I typoed that. But I think that's right, 13 yards. I don't think Union passed the ball very much, but it was efficient. It worked. But they had 73 total tackles because, again, Union ran the ball quite a bit. 12 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 2 interceptions. So the defense played really well. The defense for Mountain View last week, they had 93 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a sack, and 0 interceptions. So a lot of overall tackles for them. Their tackles for loss, 5 compared to Tooele's 12. Tooele is doing a good job getting in the backfield there. And then obviously the 2 interceptions. Now your defensive leaders for Tooele, you had number 21, Colton Smith, a junior, with 17 total tackles. Congratulations to that young man. Quite the difference between him and number 12, Trevin Rosser, a junior. Trevin. I'm going to say Trevin. I hope that's right. Rosser, a junior, 7 total tackles for him. So congratulations to him. But really, Colton Smith coming in with 17, that's it. That's big, right? Now, for Mountain View on the other side of that, you had number 5, Alani Reifua, a sophomore. He had 13 total tackles, which that's pretty awesome to see from a young man. Number 43, Ratu Malungaha. Yep. 12 total tackles for him, a senior. So congratulations to those two. Big game for those guys defensively. Again, pretty comparable. Now on the Tooele side of it, for tackles for loss, you had number 58, Jaden Chinwa. I don't know why I want to say shh, but I think it's Chinwa. Sorry about that. Junior, he had 3 tackles for loss. And he ended up with 1 sack as well, and he tied that with number 52, Mac Thrall, a junior as well. So your sack leaders are Thrall and Chinwa. With 1 sack each there. As for Mountain View, your tackle for loss and sack leaders, you have number 71, Fred Havea, Jr., 2 tackles for loss, and number 5, Alani Reifua, a sophomore, with 1 sack. So good job to that young man. You see sophomore next to that, and leading in 2 categories on defense. Keep an eye on that kid, number 5, especially if you're the offense for Tooele. Keep an eye on that kid. But in terms of interceptions, Tooele had two on the night, one by number 5, Creighton Barton, a junior, and number 8, Gus Pater, a senior, who each had an interception in last week's game. They come into this leading in that category in terms of defense because nothing was listed as for Mountain View as having a interception. So super excited that they got their opening season win there, and hopefully they can keep that momentum going in. Again, I didn't think that they played too bad. I think that there's obviously some things that they probably want to clean up. I think they had some personnel not knowing who was supposed to be on a play that they wanted to get addressed. Or maybe I heard that wrong, but it's small things, right? Small things that are normal, kind of week one things that you got to nip it in the butt. You got to get it over with, right? But it's the small things and the small things that matter, right? And they add up over time, and you got to get those corrected. And I think there's some of those for this team for sure. But I think overall, I think they played pretty well. I was really impressed with the way that they executed. Then that last 2.5 minutes, they had every reason to panic, right? They had every reason to panic last week. They controlled that game for most of the game, and then they let it up, right? And they had every reason to panic, and I didn't get the impression that they did in that last drive. And so I want to shout them out for that because they had every reason to panic, and I don't feel that they did. And that tells you something about the mentality of this team. And so I'm super excited to see what they go forward and do. So good luck to them on the road. Safe travels to your team and your fans as you guys head over to Mountain View for your week 2 matchup, and hopefully you come back 2-0. That's the goal, right? So go kick some butt and drive safe. Of course, always drive safe. But good luck to the Tooele Buffaloes as they head out to Mountain View tonight, 7 p.m. at Mountain View High School. So if you live up there and you're listening, or if you just want to go catch it, that is where they'll be at. So good luck to them. We talk about first week stuff, right? And getting in a rhythm and all that. I totally forgot to grab a water, and I should have learned my lesson years ago at trying to do this podcast stuff and not having water. But here we are. Nonetheless, we're going to fight through it because that's what you got to do, right? Things don't always go as planned. Sometimes you get punched in the face when you thought you were going to get kicked in the head. I don't know. That was a really bad analogy. But nonetheless, we're going to push through. All right, so the last game we're going to talk about today is the Deseret Peak Golden Eagles at home tonight against North San Pete. That game will be at 7 o'clock tonight. So if you're in the area, go check them out. Go support this group. All right? Go support this group. Before I get into what I want to say about it, go support this group. Go support this group. All right? But nonetheless, let's get into it. So the Deseret Peak Golden Eagles taking on North San Pete. Let's talk about what North San Pete. Let's recap what the Golden Eagles did last week. 4-7 for 17 yards passing, 24 carries for 88 yards. Not bad in my opinion. Obviously we want to improve that, right? But not bad. That's a solid outing. 0 points for them though, and they let up 49. Your passing leader. Oh, there I go. See, not getting the stats up, right? If you're just listening to audio, you don't care. But if you're watching, you probably do. I hope you do, because I worked hard on these. I put a lot of effort into this stuff, all right? I use AI for some stuff, but I align all this stuff. This is all me. I don't know. Anyways, offensively, again, we have a new quarterback here at Deseret Peak, okay? I'm pretty sure last year was Carter Stroyak, but he is apparently moved to receiver. And so now it's number 1, Andrew Harris, a senior. He was 4 for 7, 17 yards, 0 touchdowns. Rushing, he had number 3, Paredes de la Cruz, a junior. He had 7 carries for 43 yards. And then it was number 0, Eli Overman, with 3 carries for 24 yards. Carter Stroyak, as we already mentioned, a senior. He led the team in receptions with 3 receptions for 21 yards. Now, as for North San Pete, offensively last week, they beat the team that they played 57-0. Okay, they had 93 total passing yards and 2 touchdowns. They carried the ball for 374 yards on the ground and an impressive 6 touchdowns. So that defense for Deseret Peak is going to have to keep an eye on that. They can clearly run the ball. In the passing game, it was number 12, Luke Lee, for the North San Pete Hawks. He's a senior. He was 2 for 2, 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Doesn't get more efficient than that. In rushing, it's number 7, Trevor Mann, a senior. He had 6 carries, 157 yards for 1 touchdown. Number 39, Finley John, a junior, 4 carries for 48 yards. And they had a whole bunch more, obviously, because they had 374 yards. I just didn't have the space to fill it in, okay? And it's North St. Pete. I don't care about them. I care about Deseret Peak, all right? So, but we are going to give them a shout out because they do great things too, all right? Receiving wise, it was number 25, Jesse Nuttall, a senior. He had 1 reception for 68 yards on a touchdown, followed by number 2, Seth Birmingham, a senior as well. 1 reception, 25 yards, and a touchdown. So, offensively, obviously, there's a big, disparity there. But you got to hold on to that rushing attack, right? I mean, Paredes de la Cruz, 7 carries, 43 yards. That's not a bad day. That's not a bad day. 3 carries, 24 yards for Eli Overman there. If they can get more production out of that, it's really going to help. It's really going to help that quarterback out, Andrew Harris. Again, 4 of 17. I like to see that they're throwing the ball right, but only 17 yards. That's tough. I don't know how many first downs they ended up with. It might be on there. I just didn't see that. So let's get into the defensive comparison real quick. Now, last week the defense for the Golden Eagles, Deseret Peak there, they allowed 149 yards in the air and 228 yards on the ground. They had 31 total tackles, and there was nothing listed for sacks, tackles for loss, or interceptions. And your defensive leader in overall total tackles was number 0, Eli Overman, the junior, with 7, followed by number 35, Owen Jackson, a junior as well, with 6 total tackles. Now, as for the North St. Pete Hawks, they allowed 110 yards passing in the air and -8 rushing yards. So, tough call for this Deseret Peak team because, we talk about, hey, build on that running game, and they're going in against a team that only allowed -8 yards. They didn't allow anything, right? They took some. So, yeah, that's definitely tough. They had 43 total tackles. They had 11 and a half tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 1 interception. They were led by number 31, Colton Woodbury, a senior with 4 total tackles, followed by Seth Birmingham, also had 4. He's a senior as well. Tackles for loss, it was number 25, Jesse Nuttall. So keep an eye on this young man. He's apparently gets in the backfield. 2.5 tackles for loss for him. He was followed up by number 53, Parkinson, a junior, with 2, and number 8, Hendry, a senior, with 2 as well. In terms of sacks, it was number 25, Jesse Nuttall. He got 2 sacks on the night, followed by number 10, Wyatt Hobush, a junior, with 1 sack. And then Seth Birmingham, the senior, number 2, he had 1 interception for his team. So definitely an uphill battle for this Golden Eagles offense, right? Listen, I just want to say this, okay? Nobody's doubting your commitment. All right. So when I say what I say, I want you to know that it comes 1000% from the heart. Okay. Because I want you to be successful. I really do. When you're successful, the people around you are successful, and that's good for everybody, right? And I want to see you achieve your goals and your dreams. I'm gonna just look at it like this. Here's how I feel about this Deseret Peak team. They have an uphill battle, and everybody knows that 100%. They've got the wrong end of the stick in a lot of ways, right? And nobody's doubting that. Nobody denies that. I look at it like this. You have 2 options. You can either accept the narrative that's been written for you, or you can fight like hell to change it. Those are your 2 options, right? And so all I'm going to say is, and I don't doubt that you're fighting. I don't doubt that you're committed. I don't doubt that you're giving it everything that you have. I'm just going to be brutally honest and say it needs to be more, right? And that's tough. That's tough to hear, and it's tough to say, to be honest, but it's kind of the truth, right? It's your choice. You dictate the way this goes. Fight like hell for every yard. Fight like hell for every first down. Go out there. If a team's going to beat you, make sure that they earn that. Make sure that they earn it. That's all. That's how I feel for these guys. And because, again, I don't know how many first downs they got, but I'm going to guess not a lot. And that should be your goal. And I'm sure the coaches feel the same way. Probably have even said similar things, right? I'm not doubting anybody's ability. I'm not doubting anybody's commitment. I'm not doubting anybody's judgment. I'm not saying any of that. No. I'm just being real. You're in an uphill climb. And it's your choice. You have two options. Either you can accept what people are saying, or you can fight like hell to change that narrative. And that's what I hope you boys go out there and do tonight. I hope you fight like hell to shut people up, to prove to yourself, because people believe in you. It's time you believe in yourself, right? I think that's where this team is at. Again, nobody's going to deny they've got the wrong end of the stick in a lot of ways. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's doubting your commitment. Nobody's doubting your your drive to want to be better. Like, nobody's doubting any of that. At least I'm not. I'm not going to doubt it. I know your coaches are giving it everything that they got. I know you guys are giving it everything you got. All I'm saying is you got to dig deeper inside and find another level, right? So hopefully that's what these guys go out there and do today. They're playing up a team that didn't allow a lot of rushing yards, and that seems to be their best category right now. So hopefully they can get that figured out and see some success. Get a first down, then get 2 first downs, then maybe get a field goal or whatever. You know what I mean? And if a team's going to beat you, make sure that they freaking earn it. Make sure that it is the toughest win that they got all season long. That's all you can do. And believe in yourself, because we believe in you. You just got to believe in yourself, and you got to go out there, listen. I don't know. I don't want to imply that they're not listening to their coaches, because I don't know. But in a general conversation, right? Listen to your coaches, execute, do those things, and fight like hell. That's the biggest thing I want to say is fight like hell. Go change this damn narrative. Fight like hell. That's what I'm going to say. So that's what I hope to see from this Deseret Peak team tonight. Again, they will be playing North San Pete tonight at 7 p.m. at Deseret Peak High School. And yeah, turn the page, gentlemen. Turn the page. Go fight like hell, man. I'm telling you, be upset. Be upset and go out there and make sure that if this team's going to beat you, that they're going to do it with everything that they have. That's what I hope to see from this team. That's it. That's all I'm hoping to see from this team. Go out there and fight like hell, young men. And I'm not saying that you haven't been fighting. I'm not trying to imply that you haven't been by any means. All I'm going to say is you have 2 options. You can either accept that, or you can dig deeper and find more. Find more. That's what I hope to see from this team. And I hope that you know that it comes from the heart. I want you guys to be successful. I'm rooting for you. But it's on you guys. It's that simple, right? And it's easier said than done. I get it. I'm not asking. I don't want to imply that we're asking for miracles, right? No. I just want to encourage you to get out there and fight like hell. And know that we believe in you. You just got to believe in yourself. Go out there and get it done. Make this team, if they're going to beat you, make sure that they beat you because they had to work their backsides off. You know what I'm saying? Go get it. Next level, gentlemen. Next level. We're rooting for you. Good luck to Deseret Peak tonight. Again, tonight at 7 p.m., Deseret Peak High School against North San Pete Hawks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up our first podcast of the season. First podcast of the season. Hopefully more to come. Again, I need to remember water, excuse me. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And yeah, the next one hopefully won't be as long, by the way. I want to split up the recaps and the game day ones. But I didn't have time. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do the best I can here. But good luck to all of our teams tonight as we head out for week 2. Safe travels to everybody. Definitely drive safe. Traffic is absolutely crazy. So definitely drive safe. Safe travels to the team. Good luck, everybody. We're super excited for you guys. And we're looking forward to some good football. So again, if you missed any of it, we've got Stansbury versus Harriman tonight, 7 p.m. in Stansbury. Grantsville versus Richfield at 7 p.m. in Grantsville. Tooele's on the road at Mountain View, 7 p.m. out there. Safe travel to them and their fans. And Deseret Peak at home tonight against North San Pete at 7 p.m. 3 home games, folks. No excuse to be sitting around wasting time on Netflix. Go do something. Go support these young athletes. Go be a part of your community and go have some fun. Teams, go kick some butt. Good luck to everybody. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you at the games.